Greetings, Commanders! Welcome to another Commander Breakdown video. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Oh my god, Lady and Beast. He's finally doing Lady and Beast. Okay, I've been holding off on this video for a long time because Lady and Beast is a very difficult commander to do a breakdown for. Now, there's a intro to Lady and Beast, which is kind of what this is, and then there's a hint at the expert introduction to Lady and Beast. And the reason for that is because both of her skills, Time Bombs and Destructive Power, require very special replays to show what their potential is, because we're going to read them at face value, and I'm going to tell you what they do. But both of them can do things that most commander skills you never really get to see, because her 20% skill is a Maruko skill, and her 40% skill is a King skill, and it requires your opponent to dodge. So it's very difficult to get the skills to trigger just the way you want in a normal replay, because you need high-level PvP for good breakdown videos. Okay, so now that we got all that crap out of the way, let's talk about Lady and Beast. Well, first and foremost, in the proper translation for Lady and Beast, when it was originally written, it said Beauty and Beast, which was a knock from Beauty and the Beast from Disney. But after the translator came out, it turned into Lady and Beast, and here we are. We have some kind of, tomboyish techie girl on top of a animatronic robot pet, which is pretty cool looking. So, before we get into the flavor text, Lady and Beast is typically a free commander event. You get 7 days to release her, and then eventually she comes back as a release 10 event. She is a 40% guaranteed hit skill airship commander, but it's not the traditional 40% trigger and then it guarantees a hit. It actually 40% triggers, and then if your opponent dodges, it hits and does bonus damage. And at level 20, it does 100% bonus damage. At level 60, it's 300% bonus damage, which effectively does hit harder than Golem's Crush. But it doesn't stack with guaranteed hit gems, so it's a little strange. We'll get into that later. Okay, Lady and Beast. Don't be fooled by Annie and Barrent's adorable appearance. They are responsible for the greatest outlaws. Oh, they are possibly the greatest outlaws in the universe. Annie and Barrent. Annie and Barrent. There you go. If you didn't know, Lady is actually Annie. So, all right, how do you build Lady and Beast? Well, she's a typical offensive commander. You want to build her with damage in the head slot. Devastation Helmet's probably best on her. I would say that Eye of Abyss isn't a terrible choice because it, but it does have accuracy. So you are going to build crit damage on her. You like crit damage. But accuracy is not a problem for a guaranteed hit skill commander. I don't typically recommend Eye of Abyss for Golem, Raymond, or Vega because they have a 40% guaranteed hit. Just focus on that damage. And also, Lady and the Beast kind of wants to miss with her 40% skill. It says a 40% chance to trigger if her normal attack gets dodged, she gets another attack that does bonus damage. Awesome. But in order to get value out of this skill, your opponent has to dodge. And if they do dodge, you only have a 40% chance that you'll have this skill going. So less than half of the time when they dodge, you're going to be able to use this skill. But when it does hit at, level 40 or 60, it does double damage or triple damage. So it's kind of like, okay, you want your opponent to dodge you, but, do you? You trigger, if they dodge you, you get that skill, but it's only up less than half the time. So it's kind of a weird skill, but it was an answer to the dodge meta where not everyone wanted to go Raymond, Golem, Vega, and we hadn't really figured it out back then. So she was kind of in that period when we were still figuring out the guaranteed hit meta. So she's not terribly useless. If you run into Lady and the Beast and you want a 40% guaranteed hit skill commander, and for whatever reason you don't like Vega or Raymond or Golem, or you don't want to pay for Golem, then yeah, you can pick up Lady and use her for a while. Now, she does have some interesting things about her skills. Let's do the items first, then we'll talk about the skills. The rest of the items, APOC or Titans are going to be your best. Thunders are okay as well. Like I said, stay away from accuracy items if you want to get value out of your second skill. I personally would prefer to never miss. So if you do have Skywalkers instead of Apocalyptors, that would be fine as well. Skywalkers would be just fine, and they get crit damage there, and you'll be critting all the time. You should be max critting all the time with your airship commanders. Your research will get there soon enough, so that shouldn't be a problem. You always just gem damage. You can gem accuracy if you want. Like I said, though, you're not going to get value out of that second skill if you constantly hit, so kind of weird. You notice how I'm kind of revisiting that over and over because that's one of my main gripes with Lady, that the fact that she has to miss to get value, and the skill only triggers less than half the time. Okay, pants-wise, I would say Maguel are definitely best in slot. Use the dodge pants if you're killing monsters with her, and then chess piece, Black Knight's fine. Any chess piece is fine, really. Armor of the Tyrant, all that high-level stuff is fine. So, gem-wise, well, gems are tough, right? Because, like, if you watch all my videos, and this is, like, probably my 30th Commander breakdown video, yeah, you can go with your typical Scorpio Gemini, right? Very good offensive skills. Those are great, go-to gems. If you have tier 9, you can put Sagittarius or Walker Troop or Walker gems instead if you want to use, multiple troop types. For those of you that don't know about Advanced Infantry tier 9 and above, they actually have multiple troop types, so you can use different gems. But, you can also go with a generic set of gear like Gemini Libra for that extra tier suppression, because most people aren't going to be maining Lady and Beast. Not that you can't, it's just that eventually you'll want to transfer her into a more permanent airship commander, because you're just not going to get value out of that second skill as often as you like. Okay, now let's talk about the skills. The first one is Time Bombs. The way Time Bombs works is just like Darurai's Soulburn or Maruko's, not Sneak Attack. Oh gosh, what's Quick Attack? No, I forget what it's called. Anyway, basically what it does is this skill triggers, it puts a debuff on your opponent. When your opponent attacks, it deals damage to them, just like Elf's Curse. If you haven't seen those videos, those are great videos to watch. I have a couple videos on Elf. I think the second one is the better one, but basically this triggers, the next time your opponent attacks, it deals damage to them. It does true damage to them, so it ignores their bonus defense, which is really nice in a really high-level fight because it kind of negates their gear. The problem with this, though, is the only way to increase the damage is to increase the skill or increase her leadership. Kind of like Ghost Cannon on Bullet. You have to increase the amount of troops that trigger it or the level of the skill to do more damage. And it can only do so much damage. It can never exceed more than 100% of normal attack damage, which is lower for airships. Normal attack damage for infantry is higher if you have advanced troops. But it's a 20% skill. You don't want to get too excited about a 20% skill because it does not ignore tier suppression, right? And it does not ignore Roger's defensive stack. However, remember what I was saying at the beginning of this video, that this is a beginner intro to Lady and Beast? The reason is because I can't get the right replay to prove that Time Bombs doesn't beat Roger's defensive stack. Because I remember somewhere in the nether, like in the last year, I had been using Lady a lot. And I had been going against ladies a lot. And there were times when I would go against Rogers on a kill event tile, and he would kill, or my Rogers would get killed by Lady and Beast. And I'm like, how? I have dodge gear and I have 100% invulnerability with Rogers. How am I losing troops? But I forget if it's her second skill that beats Roger's defensive stack or if it's her first skill, and I just can't get the right replay to do it. So more on that to come. Check the comments below if you have proof, video proof of that. I'm going to have to make a follow-up video to this, or I'll just put it in the YouTube comments or description below. So I'll revisit that at the end of the video. In this video, or for this replay, what I want to just show off is the damage that is done by Time Bombs. And this is Lady and the Beast in the second slot using tier 10 infantry airships, which trigger airship skills. And we're going to use our old friend Clever here, who happens to be in my ace this week. So we'll go ahead and challenge. And what we want to do is we want to go against that Hoodoo. So we're going to let this troops die. I'm going to let these, I want this Kraken to go first so that I get first strike next turn, which means I can trigger Time Bombs and we can see the damage right away. So here we go. Destructive Power, that's our guaranteed hit skill. He's not going to miss. He didn't dodge me, so we don't get to see the value. The whole point of that hit there was to show you that the base damage of his melee hit is about 30,000, and then when destructive triggers, if they don't dodge, even though I have destructive on, it still hits for the same base 30,000. So I thought, hey, maybe if it does hit, maybe destructive would still give you value. It doesn't. So your base hit was 30,000 crit. Here it comes again. And here's 30,000. Whoa. Shoot. The reason that is because I have infantry out. I did all my math on my paperwork here with the airships out, so let me change that real quick. And then we'll try and run this replay a few more times to see if we can get Time Bombs to trigger, and then we'll do a conclusion of the video. But, basically in these videos, the time right now gets slow. Like, I'm not going to be dropping a lot of value or a lot of valuable knowledge because we're just waiting on an Ace of Galaxy replay, which is unfortunate. It's not how I like to do these videos, but like I was saying at the beginning, this is a hard commander to do a breakdown for because I like to provide real proof so someone can say unequivocally, based on this video, I can confirm that, this happened, instead of just, oh, Melt said so. We don't do that. I'll tell you if it's a rumor. So here we go. Here's our base hit. Oh, we're going to... No, Gemini, okay. And a time bomb. So here we go. And a destructive power. So it's going to be 30,000 plus a follow-up. Here comes... There's a 50,000. Here comes the time bomb. 50,000 base. Sorry, 56,000. So 56,000 was the time bomb, no crit. Time bomb does not crit. I have 100% crit on gear in Ace of Galaxy so that I make sure I always crit. But that skill cannot crit. So let me rephrase that. Our base hit was 50,000 crit. With destructive power, because he didn't dodge, it was still 50,000 crit. But level 20 time bombs on the same troop did 56,000. So it's true damage, and it hits really hard. And it does scale really well. It's one of those skills that it just negates all of your opponent's heavy research and defense damage against you. So Lady and Beast is great for that. You'll notice that in that replay, and if you want to tap backspace or whatever, go back 10 seconds, time bombs does kill troops, right? It actually killed troops, which is why it did damage. If it doesn't do any damage at all, then, or if it doesn't do enough damage to kill a troop, it does 0, which is what we expect from skills like that. But the question is, does it beat Roger's defensive stack? And the answer should be no, it doesn't, because Roger's skill reads that it shouldn't, and Time Bombs reads that it shouldn't, and it reads like other skills that don't beat Roger's defensive stack. So I'm pretty sure it doesn't beat defensive stack. However, I'm not 100% sure, and I don't have proof. On the other hand, I think Lady's destructive ability, her 40% hit skill, if Rogers dodges, it does hit her. It does hit Rogers. I don't have proof of it. But remember Plasma and Rita, where they can beat Rogers' defensive stack if they dodge Rogers. Then they counterstrike. They riposte with their skill, and they do damage. I think that's exactly how Lady works on Rogers as well. I just can't get the proof of it because here's a video of me fighting a Rogers. I'll give it to you right here. What's the better one? It's this one. Is it that one? No, it's one of these two. Maybe that one. So we'll fight this Rogers, and I'll show you what I mean. He's not going to dodge me. You know, I'm not going to be able to show it. It's such a difficult replay to facilitate. But essentially, if Rogers dodges you, you can get through with destructive power. It does hit hard, but it's not a good enough skill to counter Rogers. So here's a destructive power. He won't dodge, though. If you go against Dodger Rogers, you know, Lady and the Beast can score some points. However, I wouldn't even consider this a counter to Rogers. It's just kind of one of those byproducts of combat that sometimes you can score on a Rogers when normally you wouldn't score at all. So you wouldn't use her to counter him or anything like that. And yeah, that's about the end of this video, guys. I will confirm later on if destructive power can bypass Rogers' defensive stack. Check the comments below. I'll super like the comment so that it stays at the top. So that everyone can reference that. But that's Lady and Beast, guys. She's a free commander. She's a fantastic commander. She's a solid A commander in my book. She's not as good as Vega and Raymond, but she's certainly better than Cohen and the rest of those airship guys. So I would say she's definitely a top 10 airship commander, probably 5 to 7 range. And she has the same skill set as that 40% skill is the same as King's. I think King is 60%. But I got to do a King video. I just don't have him. King, Thunder Ray, we'll make those videos when I get them. But thanks for watching. That's the end of this video. Remember, my name is Melt, and peace is bad for business.